In a time before time, when the gods still whispered through the wind, and the world breathed in rhythm with music, there lived a man named Orpheus. He was no warrior, no king, but the strings of his lyre held more power than swords or crowns. With every note, the world leaned in to listen. Birds fell silent. Rivers slowed their flow. Even the hearts of the gods, distant and cold, seemed to warm for just a moment. And in this world of song and silence, he loved only one, Eurydice, a name spoken like a breath, a presence softer than moonlight on water. Their love was not loud. It was not written in epic battles or carved into stone. It was quiet, steady, like the rhythm of the earth itself. But even the sweetest melodies must one day meet silence. It was a morning like any other. The sky was still pale, brushed with soft gold. The air was quiet, not silent, but gentle. Bird song floated in the distance, carried by the wind. Eurydice wandered through the meadow, her dress trailing through tall grass. She moved without hurry, her hands grazing wildflowers, her eyes on nothing in particular. It was the kind of peace that asks for no witness. But peace, in this world, is always fragile. In the shadows at the edge of the woods, something stirred. A serpent coiled and waiting, not out of malice, but nature. It did not know her name. It did not know the music that lived in her. Only the stillness, the strike, one bite, a heartbeat, then another, then none. The wind caught its breath. The birds went silent. And far away, Orpheus felt something vanish, like a thread pulled from the world. He turned his head, listening, but there was nothing. No voice, no footsteps, only the faint memory of her laugh, already slipping away. He ran. He found her, but it was too late. The light in her eyes had gone where no song could reach. Orpheus held her, and the world around them seemed to dim. He did not scream. He did not cry. He listened to the silence. And in that silence, something grew. A quiet resolve, deep and ancient. He would not accept the stillness. He would not let the song end here. If she was lost to the land of the dead, then he would follow, downward, into shadow, with nothing but a melody, and the hope that love could echo through the underworld. There are paths no map can draw, trails made not of stone, but sorrow. And so Orpheus began his descent, not by foot, but by grief, through forests that forgot their own names, past rivers that whispered in forgotten tongues. He walked. With each step, the air grew colder. The colors faded, and the sky, once bright with birds and sun, dissolved into shadow. No mortal had ever made this journey with breath still in their lungs. But Orpheus was not just a man. He was music walking, and the underworld listened. At the mouth of the realm of the dead, he met the first silence. The gates of Hades, stone carved from time itself, wrapped in ivy that never bloomed. Before him stood the guardian, Cerberus, the three-headed hound, a beast of shadow and bone, bred to devour hope. But Orpheus did not run. He did not raise a sword. He raised his lyre, and he played. The notes rose like smoke, soft, mournful, not a song of defiance, but of longing, of love lost in the dark. Cerberus did not snarl. He did not attack. The great beast listened. 3 heads bowed, 3 hearts, ancient and cold, beat a little slower. The gates opened, and Orpheus stepped beyond the veil. The underworld swallowed him whole, but the music followed, each note a candle in the dark, each breath a thread back to the world above. The underworld was not fire and torment. It was stillness, endless halls carved from shadow, rivers that remembered every soul they carried, an air so quiet it made thoughts echo. Orpheus walked alone. His footsteps barely touched the ground. Above him, the world of the living faded into memory. But in his hands, he held a promise, the lyre, and the song he had not yet sung. At last, he reached the throne, where Hades sat, carved from onyx and silence. And beside him, Persephone, half light, half sorrow, queen of the realm of endings. They did not speak. Gods rarely do. They waited, and Orpheus began. He played not to impress, not to persuade, but to remember. Each note held her face, Her laughter, the way her fingers traced the rim of a clay cup in the morning light. The world they had built between heartbeats. The silence she left behind. He sang not just of loss, but of love so deep it reached into death. So pure, even the stones wept. Persephone's eyes dimmed with something older than tears. Even Hades, cold, unmoved by centuries of pleading souls, lowered his gaze. And when the final note faded into shadow, there was nothing left to say. Silence returned. But this time, it was full. And then Hades spoke, a voice like cracking ice. She may follow, but only if you lead, and only if you do not look back. One condition, cruel and simple. Do not look back. Do not check if she is there. Not until both have reached the world above. Orpheus bowed. He did not thank them, only turned and began the ascent. He walked upward. The path behind him vanished with each step. Before him, only darkness and hope. He could not hear her, could not see her, but he felt her presence, faint and flickering, like a candle too far behind. One step, then another, each one heavier than the last. The silence was unbearable, but the song lived inside him still, a melody of trust. He thought of her eyes, the curve of her smile. He remembered the way she said his name, like it was a secret meant only for them. But doubt grows in silence, and silence was all he had. Was she there? Had the gods tricked him? Had she stumbled? Was she ever behind him at all? The light of the living world began to rise ahead, soft and golden. Just a few more steps, but his heart beat louder now, louder than his reason, and doubt whispered again. Where she was gone. He stopped. The final step waited in front of him, the edge of shadow and sun, and he turned. He turned, and she was there, so close, eyes wide with love and sorrow. Her fingers reached for his, but too late. The spell shattered, and the underworld pulled her back like a tide. No escrim, no crai, just her face, disappearing into the dark. Orpheus stood alone, at the edge of life, and the silence returned. He did not go back for his lyre. He did not sing again. The world welcomed him with sunlight, with birdsong, with the scent of spring, but it all fell hollow, like music without sound, like a memory you can almost touch, but never hold. He wandered, not as the man who once moved gods, but as a shadow of that song. Some say he sat by the river for days. Others say he vanished into the mountains, whispering her name into the wind. No one knows when his footsteps stopped, only that the earth was quieter after. But some nights, when the wind is soft and the stars are still, you might hear a song without a source. Faint, melancholy, beautiful beyond words. A melody of love that tried to bring someone back. And though it failed, it was never forgotten. The world remembers. The story echoes. And somewhere, so does the song. The war was over. Troy had burned, and the victors scattered like ash on the wind. But for Odysseus, there was no victory. Not yet. He sailed alone, across an ocean that seemed to stretch forever. No land in sight. Only water. Only sky. Days melted into nights. Waves rose and fell, like the rhythm of breathing. The stars above whispered names he no longer spoke. And the wind carried voices, faint echoes of the past. His ship was small. The sea was endless. But it was not the sea he feared. It was forgetting. Forgetting Ithaca. Forgetting the curve of Penelope's smile. The weight of his son's tiny hand. The sound of his own name spoken by someone who loved him. So he stayed awake, eyes on the horizon, hands on the worn wood of the deck. He listened to the ocean, to the silence, to the heartbeat of a man trying not to disappear. And somewhere far, far ahead, the shape of home waited like a dream. The waves led them to an island that shimmered like a mirage. Tall trees with silver leaves. Air so sweet it made them drowsy. Bird song that echoed like lullabies. The men smiled. They laughed. Their worries floated away like mist. She lived alone, Circe, a woman wrapped in magic and moonlight. She welcomed them not with fear, but with warmth. A feast, a home. They forgot the war. They forgot the sea. Some even forgot they were men. Their bodies changed, shaped by enchantment and surrender. But Odysseus, he watched, he listened. Something in him refused to let go. The thread of Ithaca still tugged at his soul. He did not eat. He did not sleep. He found her and spoke not with anger, but with memory of a home far away, of a promise unkept, of a wife who still waited beneath olive trees. And Circe, seeing the weight he carried, let the spell fade. She gave back his men. She gave them rest, but not escape. They stayed for a year, and yet it felt like a moment, or a lifetime, hard to tell in a place where time forgets itself. But the sea did not forget, and neither did Odysseus. So one morning, before the sun could rise, they left the island behind, and the waves welcomed them once more. The wind softened, the sea grew still, and Odysseus knew they were near, the sirens. Their voices did not call from mouths, but from memory, from dreams, from the deepest part of you that still aches for something lost. He had been warned. Wax in the ears of his men, rope around his hands. He asked to hear, not because he trusted them, but because he needed to remember what it was like. To want something so deeply, it hurt. And then they sang, not in words, but in feeling. The sound of his mother's voice calling him home. The laughter of his son, still small and full of wonder. The hush of Penelope's breath as she fell asleep beside him. He wept, not from sadness, but from remembering what it felt like. To be whole, he strained against the ropes. The mast groaned. The sea held its breath, but his men rowed on, unhearing, unaffected, eyes forward, hearts safe. And when the song faded, Odyssey home, not broken, but emptied, he had survived, but part of him remained behind, floating forever in that silent water, where the sirens sing to no one. The island was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just the crunch of footsteps on black sand. They were hungry, tired, hope flickering low, and in the distance, a cave, wide as a mouth, dark as a memory. Inside, they found milk and meat, a feast waiting, but no host. So they ate, they waited, and then he returned, the Cyclops, a giant carved from the bones of mountains. One eye, one purpose. He sealed the cave with a boulder, and the air grew thick with fear. Some cried, some begged. Odysseus stayed silent. He watched, he listened, he waited. The giant did not care for names, but Odysseus gave him one anyway. Call me, nobody, a name that slipped through cracks like smoke. And in the dead of night, while the beast slept, Odysseus struck a sharpened branch, glowing red with fire. The eye, the only eye, blinded. The cave howled. Stone shook. The sea beyond rose with the sound. He escaped, clinging to the bellies of sheep. One by one, they slipped past the blind rage, into the light. And when the boat was far enough, Odysseus turned. He could not help himself. He shouted his name to the wind. Not nobody. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, the one who had outwitted a monster. But the gods heard that name too, and they remembered it. The sky grew dark without a storm. The sea turned to black glass. No waves, no wind. Odysseus lit a fire on the shore of a place that was not land and not sea, a threshold between the living and those who had drifted beyond. He poured offerings into the earth. Milk, honey, wine as red as blood. And from the silence, they came, shadows with voices, eyes filled with things left unsaid, memories wrapped in fog. He saw his mother. She smiled, but there was sadness in her silence. She had died waiting for him. He had not been there to say goodbye. He saw friends lost to the war, fathers, sons, men whose names he could barely remember, but whose faces were burned into his soul. And then Tiresias, the blind prophet, who saw more than sight could hold. Your journey is not over, he said. The sea is long, and the road home is narrow. But if your heart stays steady, you may yet return. Odysseus listened, not with his ears, but with the part of him that still believed in morning. When the fire died down, the spirits faded, and he stood again, a little older, a little heavier, not just with grief, but with knowing he had faced the dead, and still he lived. He saw the shape of Ithaca long before he touched it, a distant outline, familiar, but changed. The shore was quiet, no cheers, no trumpets, just the sound of waves and the wind through the olive trees. He stepped onto the sand. As a stranger, a man worn thin by time, weathered by gods and ghosts. No one recognized him. Not the farmers, not the guards, not even the hounds that once chased at his heels. But Penelope, she had not forgotten. Not her hands, or her bones, or her breath. She tested him, as he had tested the sea, and when she was sure, when her heart knew what her eyes could not, she wept, not loud, but deeply. His son stood before him, no longer a child, and in that moment, Odysseus understood. He had returned, not to the world he left, but to the one that had kept going without him. He sat beneath the same roof, but the stars above were different. Still, he was home, and in the quiet of that night, with no battles left to fight, he listened to the stillness he had spent a lifetime seeking.
Prometheus and the Gift of Fire. Section 1, Opening Scene. Night falls gently over the ancient world, and the air is cool and still. In the darkness, early humans huddle together in small groups, trying to find warmth without the comfort of fire. The stars twinkle quietly above, offering a faint light but little heat. The people are wrapped in animal skins, and they whisper softly to pass the long evening, awaiting the return of the sun. It is a peaceful yet chilly scene, with only the sounds of night creatures and the distant sigh of the wind to keep them company. High atop Mount Olympus, a titan named Prometheus observes this scene with a compassionate heart. Prometheus is a wise and gentle being who cares deeply for the mortals on Earth. He watches the humans shiver and struggle in the cold night, and a feeling of sympathy fills him. While the gods live in comfort and warmth, humanity remains in darkness. In this calm, moonlit moment, Prometheus quietly decides he must help the people below in some way. Section 2, A Secret Plan. Prometheus knows that the gods keep the gift of fire for themselves. Fire brings light, warmth, and the spark of knowledge. And Zeus, the king of the gods, has forbidden giving it to humans. Despite this rule, Prometheus's kind heart cannot bear to see the mortals suffer in the cold any longer. On a quiet evening, he forms a gentle plan to bring fire down to the world of men and women. Late one night, when most of Olympus is asleep and the halls of the gods are silent, Prometheus moves through the shadows with care. In a secluded corner, he finds the sacred hearth, where an eternal flame dances softly. The flame's glow flickers on the walls, and Prometheus approaches it with reverence. With steady hands, he takes a hollow fennel stalk and holds it to the warm, golden fire. The stalk catches a small, enduring spark inside it. Prometheus cradles this precious ember, its warmth glowing through the plant stem, and smiles quietly. Without making a sound, he departs from Olympus, carrying the secret flame hidden safely in the stalk. Section 3, The Gift of Fire. Under the veil of night, Prometheus descends from the home of the gods down to the world of humans. He steps carefully over hills and through valleys until he reaches a small encampment of people. They are awake, huddled in the dark, unable to sleep from the bitter chill. Prometheus approaches slowly, his presence gentle and calm so as not to startle them. From the fennel stalk he carries, he releases the spark onto a pile of dry wood and leaves that the humans have gathered. A tiny flame springs to life, and the wood begins to crackle softly. The people gasp in quiet awe as the orange glow grows and spreads warmth through the air. For the first time, they feel the comforting heat of fire and see their surroundings illuminated in the soft light. Prometheus shows them how to feed the fire with more wood, and the flame rises a little brighter. Shadows dance calmly on the rocks as the humans gather around this new, wondrous light. There is no fear, only gentle excitement and relief. In hushed voices, they thank Prometheus for this gift. The Titan simply nods with a kind smile, watching as families hold their hands out to the warmth and faces that were once shivering, now softened with comfort. Section 4. A New Dawn for Mankind. With the gift of fire, life for the mortals begins to change in peaceful ways. Morning comes, and for the first time, smoke can be seen curling up from their hearths. as they keep the fire alive. In the soft light of dawn, people bake simple bread over the flames and warm their food, marveling at how the heat makes everything better. They gather to share cooked meals, and the gentle aroma drifts through the air. At night, they no longer sit in total darkness. The campfires glow like little stars on the earth, keeping them safe and together. As days pass calmly, the humans learn to use the fire for light in their caves and for warmth on cold nights. They learn to harden clay into pots and to heat stones for tools, all under the guidance of the quiet, flickering flames. Prometheus watches from a distance, his heart filled with gladness to see the people thriving and no longer so afraid. He sits on a hillside under a tree's shade, observing the smoke rising lazily from the village fires. Each trail of smoke is a sign of comfort and hope. However, up on Mount Olympus, the gods soon notice the sudden appearance of fire on Earth. Tiny plumes of smoke on the horizon catch the attention of Zeus, who realizes what has happened. Section 5. Zeus's judgment. Zeus, the ruler of the gods, is not pleased when he discovers that Prometheus has given fire to humanity. Yet, even Zeus's anger is described here not in thunder or fury, but in the quiet resolve of a powerful being who feels a rule has been broken. In the calm morning light, Zeus calls for Prometheus. The Titan does not resist or fight. He stands before Zeus with a serene expression, knowing he did what he felt was right for the world below. As a punishment for his actions, Zeus has Prometheus brought to a faraway mountain peak. In this high, solitary place, Prometheus is bound with unbreakable chains. Day after day, the wind is his only companion, and the sun rises and sets before him. According to Zeus's decree, an eagle arrives each day to peck at Prometheus as part of his punishment. We do not linger on those painful details. Prometheus endures the ordeal in silent dignity, his face turned toward the distant lands where he can still see faint trails of smoke and the glow of fires he brought to mankind. Knowing that his gift continues to keep the humans warm and alive gives him comfort through the long days. He holds on to hope quietly, believing that someday his suffering will end. Section 6. A soft, reflective ending. Time flows onward like a gentle river. After many seasons, a hero named Heracles eventually finds Prometheus on that lonely mountain, and, with kindness and bravery, frees him from his chains. Prometheus's long ordeal comes to an end, and he is finally able to rest. Though weak, he smiles when he remembers why he was punished. The humans below are no longer helpless in the dark. On quiet nights, the warm glow of countless fires can be seen dotted across the land like fallen stars. Around each gentle flame, families gather to share food, stories, and comfort. These peaceful scenes are the lasting legacy of Prometheus's gift. In the end, the Titan's compassion forever changed the fate of humankind. As Prometheus gazes at the world, he feels a deep contentment. The crackling of fire and the soft murmur of human voices rise up like a lullaby. Under the watch of a calm night sky with stars shimmering above and hearth fires flickering below, the story of Prometheus and the gift of fire comes to a soothing close. Humans and Titan alike find warmth in the glow of hope and kindness. Persephone and the changing of the seasons. On a gentle spring afternoon, young Persephone wanders through a meadow filled with blooming flowers. The sun shines softly overhead, and a comfortable warmth radiates across the green fields. Persephone's laughter is quiet and sweet as she picks wild flowers, red poppies, golden daffodils, and purple irises that sway in a mild breeze. Butterflies flit from blossom to blossom, and somewhere in the distance, a brook murmurs calmly. Everything in this moment feels peaceful and alive. And Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, delights in the simple joy of the earth's beauty. Demeter, the goddess of the harvest and Persephone's mother, watches her daughter with a tender smile. Under Demeter's care, the world is abundant. Grain stalks grow tall, and fruit trees are heavy with ripe offerings. As Persephone gathers a bouquet of colorful flowers, Demeter feels her heart brim with happiness. Mother and daughter share a special bond, and the land reflects their joy. The day is bright, and the future seems as steady and lovely as the gentle rhythm of nature all around. Section 2, An Unexpected Journey. As the afternoon drifts lazily onward, Persephone notices a particularly beautiful flower near the edge of the meadow, a narcissus with petals white as snow and a golden center. She steps away from her companions to gently pluck this single enchanting bloom. Suddenly, the earth beneath her feet begins to shift in a silent, mystical way. The ground opens up softly, like a door easing ajar, and from it emerges Hades, the lord of the underworld. He is often feared by mortals, but in this moment he appears not as a monster, but as a calm, solemn figure in a dark cloak. Before Persephone can cry out, Hades reaches for her hand. There is no violent struggle, only a quiet sense of destiny unfolding. Persephone feels a mixture of surprise and wonder as she finds herself drawn gently down into the world beneath the soil. The gap in the earth closes above them, and the meadow falls silent, the only sign of her passing being a few scattered flowers on the ground. Persephone descends into the underworld by Hades' side, leaving the bright fields behind. In the sudden stillness, the sunlit meadow now stands empty of its joyful maiden, and an uncertain calm falls over the land. Section 3, A Mother's Sorrow. When Demeter realizes that Persephone is nowhere to be found, a quiet panic settles in her heart. She calls out for her daughter across the hills and valleys, but no answer comes back except her own echo. Demeter begins to search far and wide, walking ceaselessly from village to village, meadow to mountain, holding a torch through the night. As the worried mother wanders, her grief has a gentle but profound effect on the world she nurtures. The skies become overcast, and the air grows colder. Summer's warmth fades into an early autumn chill, as Demeter's sorrow touches every growing thing. Under Demeter's grief, the green earth transforms. Leaves lose their vivid hues and drift to the ground, covering the paths with a quiet rustle. Fields once full of crops fall barren. The grass turns pale, and the flowers retreat back into their bulbs. Days that were once golden and long become cool and short. Animals grow drowsy, preparing for a long sleep through the lean times. The world is not being punished out of anger, but it mourns gently with a mother who misses her child. In her sadness, Demeter causes the earth to grieve, and thus the first winter falls upon the mortal world, a still, hushed season of waiting. Section 4, The Promise of Return. Seeing the world grow silent and cold, Zeus, the king of the gods, takes notice from his throne on high. He understands that if Persephone is not returned, the earth might never bloom again. So Zeus sends Hermes, the swift messenger, down to the underworld, with a request for Hades. In the dim and quiet realm of the underworld, Hades listens to Hermes convey Zeus's words. The message is gentle but firm. Persephone must be allowed to reunite with her mother, so that life on earth can flourish once more. Hades is thoughtful as he considers the request. He cares for Persephone in his own reserved way, and does not wish to cause unending harm, so he agrees to let Persephone return to her mother's embrace. However, there is one condition that cannot be undone. Persephone has eaten a few sweet seeds of the pomegranate fruit during her time in the underworld. Because she has tasted the food of Hades' realm, ancient law binds her to that realm for part of each year. After a quiet discussion, an arrangement is reached. Persephone will spend a portion of the year with Hades in the underworld, and the remainder of the year above with her mother. This agreement, spoken in hushed tones in the shadowy halls of the underworld, carries the promise that Persephone will indeed return to the light again and again. Section 5, The Seasons Change. When Persephone is finally allowed to ascend back to the surface, Demeter's joy is boundless, and gentle tears of happiness fall from her eyes. As mother and daughter embrace, the world around them begins to awaken. The snow and frost that had covered the land melt quietly away. Tiny green shoots push up through the earth, and buds unfurl on trees and bushes. Color and warmth return as flowers open, and the scent of spring fills the breeze. Birds begin to sing softly again in the forests and fields. It is Persephone's presence that brings an end to the long winter. In celebration of her daughter's return, Demeter coaxes the crops to grow and flowers to blanket the meadows once more. For many months, Persephone stays with her mother, and during this time the earth is alive and fruitful. Yet, when the cycle turns and the agreed time comes, Persephone must gently say farewell and return to Hades' quiet kingdom for a while. Demeter knows this is the way of things, but each time her daughter departs, a soft sadness settles over her. As Persephone travels back to the underworld, the leaves fade and fall, and the days grow short and hushed once more. But everyone on earth now understands this rhythm and knows that it is only temporary. They endure the stillness of autumn and the sleep of winter with patience, knowing that in time Persephone will return and bring the sunlight and blossoms with her. Section 6. A soft, reflective ending. And so, the changing of the seasons comes to be. Persephone's journey between the earth and the underworld means that part of the year is spent in growth and light, and part in rest and quiet. In the gentle balance of this cycle, there is no anger, only love and longing, departure and reunion. Even in the coldest winter days, there is a comforting thought that Persephone will return, and with her will come the singing birds, the blooming fields, and the warm sun. Demeter waits calmly each year for that reunion, tending what she can until the earth can burst into life again. In time, humans came to understand that fall and winter were not times of despair, but a needed slumber before the rebirth of spring. They cherished the spring and summer when Persephone walked the land, and they endured winter's sleep knowing it was a season of hope and renewal. In disguise, under the watchful care of Demeter, and guided by Persephone's gentle comings and goings, the world remains in harmony. The story of Persephone and the changing seasons ends not with sadness, but with the quiet reassurance that light will always return after darkness, and that love will always bring life back to the world. Icarus and Daedalus. Section 1. Opening scene. In the golden light of a late afternoon, Daedalus and his young son Icarus sit together at the top of a tall tower on the island of Crete. They have been kept there by King Minos, unable to leave the island, and so they spend their days quietly gazing at the wide sky and the open sea beyond. Daedalus, a clever inventor, often points out the birds that glide effortlessly on the breeze. Father and son dream of being as free as those birds, soaring above the gentle waves. As the sun slowly sets, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks, Daedalus wraps an arm around Icarus and speaks in a calm, hopeful tone about finding a way home. The world beyond their prison is calm and inviting, and the pair take comfort in each other's presence as the stars begin to twinkle above. Night passes into dawn, and Daedalus wakes with an idea formed in his mind. This new day might bring the beginning of their journey to freedom. He has watched the birds carefully, and thinks he now understands how they fly. With quiet determination and a spark of hope, Daedalus decides to craft wings for himself and his son. In the gentle morning light, a plan takes shape that will carry them toward the open sky. Section 2. Crafting the wings. Daedalus begins to collect feathers that have fallen from the birds above. Each day, he and Icarus find feathers of all sizes scattered around their high tower. Small, soft ones, and large, sturdy ones. They handle each feather with care, as if handling a delicate flower petal. In a hidden corner of the tower, Daedalus slowly melts down bits of beeswax, the golden wax giving off a faint honey scent as it softens. With the wax as glue, he starts to join the feathers together, arranging them skillfully to form two large wings. Icarus watches his father with wide, curious eyes. Sometimes he helps, by holding the feathers in place, or blowing gently on the wax to cool it. Daedalus works patiently, humming a quiet tune to keep their spirits calm. Over days and weeks, the wings take shape. They look remarkably like the wings of a great bird. When the wax cools and hardens, the feathers are fixed firmly together. Eventually, Daedalus fits the first pair of wings onto his own arms, fastening them securely with leather straps. He moves his arms slowly up and down, and to their delight, the wings catch the air just as a bird's would. Encouraged, he makes a second pair for young Icarus. He gently reminds Icarus, "We must be cautious and patient. These wings are our path to freedom." Section 3. The Dawn Flight. At last, the day arrives when the winds are gentle, and the sky is clear, perfect for their escape. In the early morning hush, when the world is still waking, Daedalus and Icarus step onto the roof of the tower with their wings strapped on. The rising sun greets them with a soft golden light. Daedalus carefully checks the bindings on Icarus's wings, and then his own. He looks into his son's eyes and smiles reassuringly. Although Icarus feels butterflies in his stomach, he trusts his father and the plan they have prepared for so long. Hand in hand, they run a few steps and leap from the tower's edge. For a breathless moment, they drop downward. Then Daedalus spreads his arms wide and Icarus follows suit. The crafted wings catch the air, and suddenly they are flying. The rush of air is cool and quiet around them. Icarus laughs in pure quiet delight as the tower and the island shrink below. Father and son glide side by side over the turquoise sea, leaving the prison of the island behind. The water far below glistens in the morning light, and gentle waves ripple as if waving them onward. Daedalus calls out softly to Icarus, reminding him to follow his movements. Together they rise with the currents of air, their wings flapping slowly and steadily. It is a peaceful flight, and a dream come true for them both. Section 4. A moment of joy. As they travel through the sky, Icarus becomes more confident. The freedom of the open sky is exhilarating, and he feels as if he is part of the wind itself. He swoops a little to the left and right, testing the limits of his new wings. The air is cool against his face, and the higher he flies, the more the world below becomes a patchwork of blues and greens. Daedalus keeps a watchful eye on his son, calling out gentle reminders not to fly too low, where the damp sea air could weigh down the wings, and not to fly too high, where the sun's warmth grows intense. Icarus hears his father's advice and waves back in acknowledgement, maintaining a respectful distance. For a while they fly quietly together, riding the breeze. Icarus is so full of joy that he cannot resist climbing a bit higher. The sun is now brighter as the morning wears on. Its rays feel warm on his skin and on the feathers of his wings. Below, Daedalus notices Icarus drifting upward and calls out softly in concern, "Stay with me, my son." In the giddy excitement of flight, Icarus only half listens. He feels as though he could touch the sky's highest clouds. His heart light and happy, he climbs a little higher still, chasing the sunbeams while Daedalus continues at a safer level, hoping Icarus will follow him back down soon. Section 5. The Fall. In the midst of Icarus's blissful ascent, he fails to notice the subtle changes in his wings. The sun, now higher in the sky, shines hot upon the wax that holds the feathers together. Bit by bit, the wax begins to soften. A feather comes loose, floating gently down past Icarus's side. Then another slips out, fluttering towards the sea. Icarus finally realizes something is wrong when he feels his arms growing lighter and the lift under his wings weakening. He glances at his wings and sees feathers falling away like autumn leaves drifting from a tree. A quiet panic sets in as he tries to call out, but his voice is lost in the vast open air. Below, Daedalus sees the feathers raining down and understands at once. His heart tightens in fear, and he urges his own wings to carry him upward toward Icarus. But it is too late. With the sun's warmth melting the wax, the beautiful wings cannot hold together. In one gentle, heartbreaking moment, Icarus starts to slip from the sky. He descends through the calm morning air, arms no longer supported by enough feathers to fly. The sea waits below, its surface smooth and reflective. Icarus falls into the embrace of the water with hardly a splash. The ripples fade quickly, and the sea returns to an innocent calm, as if holding Icarus in a quiet, eternal sleep. Section 6. A soft, reflective ending. Daedalus glides down to the water's surface, calling Icarus's name in a voice filled with aching sorrow. He searches the gentle waves, but his son has vanished beneath the blue expanse. After some time, Daedalus accepts that Icarus is gone, carried to the peaceful depths of the sea. With a heavy yet quiet heart, the father continues his journey alone. Flying on to the nearest land, he steps onto the shore of a foreign beach, the surf rolling over his feet with a soothing hush, as if offering comfort. In the days that follow, Daedalus mourns his son in a series of silent tears and whispered memories. He finds a calm spot under a tree overlooking the sea, and buries the remaining feathers that he recovered from the water's edge, creating a small memorial for Icarus. As he sits by the gentle ocean waves, Daedalus reflects on their wondrous flight, and his son's brief moment of freedom. Though the ending was sad, he takes solace in knowing that Icarus experienced the thrill of touching the sky, even if only for a short while. In time, Daedalus continues to live quietly, his heart carrying the memory of Icarus. Whenever he sees birds flying at dawn, the story of Icarus and Daedalus ends with a soft hush, like a feather settling on the ground. It is a reminder of the balance between dreaming and wisdom, and it drifts into history like a gentle breeze, leaving behind a tender memory under the endless sky. The Oracle of Delphi and the Secrets of Fate. Section 1. Opening scene. Morning light spreads softly over the slopes of Mount Parnassus, where the ancient sanctuary of Delphi is nestled among olive groves. A gentle mist hugs the ground in the early dawn, slowly lifting to reveal marble columns glinting in the sunlight. The air is crisp and still. Birds chirp lightly in the distant trees, as a few travelers make their way up the winding path toward the Temple of Apollo. Each step they take is slow and reverent, for this is a sacred place of prophecy and wisdom. At this quiet hour, the world feels expectant and calm, as if holding its breath in the presence of unseen truths. Among the travelers is a young seeker, a humble soul, who has journeyed far to ask the Oracle of Delphi for guidance. With each step toward the temple, the traveler feels both nervous and hopeful. The valley below is blanketed in morning haze, and the rising sun promises a fair day. By the time the seeker reaches the temple's entrance, a gentle breeze has picked up, rustling the laurel trees that grow nearby. The scene is serene, and the ancient stones of Delphi seem to whisper that here, one might glimpse the secrets of fate carried on the very wind. Section 2. Inside the temple. Stepping into the Temple of Apollo, the traveler finds the interior cool and dim, illuminated by rays of sunlight that filter through the doorway and high windows. The space smells faintly of burnt herbs and sweet incense, creating a calming fragrance that hangs in the still air. At the far end of the hall sits the Oracle of Delphi, known as the Pythia. She is a priestess of Apollo, and this morning she appears as a tranquil figure, draped in simple white robes. The Pythia sits upon a tall three-legged stool, a tripod which rests above a fissure in the earth. It's said that from this fissure rise vapors that carry the wisdom of Apollo, but all the traveler sees now is a faint wisp of smoke, and the distant flicker of a sacred flame. The temple is quiet. A few attendants and priests stand respectfully at the edges of the room, their heads bowed in silence. The seeker approaches slowly, footsteps echoing softly against the stone floor. The only sounds are the gentle crackle of the flame and the faint rustle of the priestess's robes as she slightly sways, already attuned to the divine message. Golden light from the morning sun falls across an altar where offerings of flowers and small treasures from previous visitors are arranged neatly. The atmosphere is one of deep peace and reverence. In this hallowed stillness, the young traveler kneels before the oracle, heart beating steadily but calmly, ready to hear the words of Apollo spoken through the voice of the priestess. Section 3. The Seeker's Question. With a respectful bow, the traveler addresses the oracle in a soft, steady voice. "Oh, wise oracle," the seeker begins. "I have traveled a long way to find guidance. I ask humbly, what do the fates hold for me? What path should I take to find fulfillment and peace?" These words echo gently in the vast chamber. For a moment, there is silence, as if even the birds outside have paused to listen. The young seeker keeps their eyes lowered, focused on the patterns of the stone floor, awaiting an answer with hopeful anticipation. The Pythia closes her eyes and breathes deeply, inviting the presence of Apollo into her mind and heart. The traveler can see the priestess's face soften as she enters a trance-like state. A calm comes over the room, deeper than before, as though the very temple itself is listening. The seeker's question hangs in the air, simple and heartfelt. In that stillness, time feels as if it has slowed, stretching gently. The traveler notices the dust motes dancing in a beam of light and finds their own breathing falling into a relaxed rhythm. All anxieties begin to melt away in the quiet assurance that the answer will soon come, as certain as day follows night. Section 4. Words of Prophecy. When the oracle finally speaks, her voice is gentle and distant, as if she is speaking from a dream. Her words echo softly against the stone walls, each syllable clear and steady. Child of the earth, she intones, the path you seek will reveal itself in due time. When the eagle flies at dawn and the valley is cloaked in morning gold, you shall find the answer that you desire. Remember, the seed does not sprout before the rain, and the night does not last beyond the sunrise. Trust in the rhythm of the world. Continue your journey with a hopeful heart, for as surely as spring follows winter, your time of fulfillment will come. The prophecy is spoken slowly, and the seeker listens intently to each soothing phrase. The words are metaphorical, but their meaning feels comforting and encouraging. As the oracle's voice fades back into silence, the young traveler reflects on what was said. The temple remains hushed. Even the flame on the altar seems to flicker quietly, as if bowing to the message that has been given. The Pythia opens her eyes, gazing kindly at the seeker, though she appears a bit weary from channeling Apollo's wisdom. A priest nearby steps forward silently and offers the oracle a cup of water, which she sips in silence. The prophecy, filled with gentle imagery of dawn and spring, hangs in the air and settles warmly in the traveler's soul. Section 5. Understanding Fate. The traveler takes a few moments to absorb the oracle's message. The words swirl in the seeker's mind like leaves on a calm pond, forming a picture of patience and hope. The phrases repeat themselves softly. When the eagle flies at dawn, the valley in morning gold, the seed in the rain, spring follows winter. The more the traveler ponders these phrases, the clearer their guidance becomes. The eagle at dawn could be a sign to watch for, a moment when clarity will come. The seed waiting for rain suggests that the seeker must be patient and prepared, knowing that growth and answers arrive in their own season. Spring following winter assures the traveler that after a time of uncertainty or waiting, joy and fulfillment will return as surely as blossoms in spring. Feeling a serene understanding, the young seeker lifts their gaze to meet the oracle's eyes. With gratitude welling up, the traveler speaks softly. Thank you, wise oracle, for showing me that my journey has its purpose and time. I will carry your words in my heart. The Pythia offers a gentle nod, a subtle smile on her lips. The priests standing by also give the seeker encouraging looks. In this quiet moment, the traveler feels connected to something greater, a reassuring sense that their life's path is watched over by the gods, and that they need not fear the unknown. With a deep breath, the seeker rises slowly to their feet, feeling lighter and more hopeful than when they first arrived. Section 6. A soft, reflective ending. The traveler steps out of the temple into the late morning light, leaving behind the cool shadows of the hall and carrying the oracle's prophecy in their heart. The world outside is bright and welcoming. The mist has fully lifted, revealing a splendid view of the valley below Delphi, dotted with trees and bathed in sunlight. Our traveler finds a stone bench under an olive tree and sits for a short while to reflect. A gentle breeze plays with the leaves overhead, and the distant sound of a fountain can be heard where spring water flows nearby. Everything feels in harmony, as if the gods are gently guiding every rustling leaf and every drifting cloud. In time, the young seeker stands and begins the journey home, walking down the same path they came up earlier that day. Each step is now confident and unhurried. The future is still unknown, but it no longer feels frightening. Instead, it feels like a story that will unfold naturally, with the traveler ready to meet it when the moment is right. As the figure of the traveler grows smaller in the distance, the oracle's temple remains perched quietly on the mountainside, watching over the valley as it has for ages. The story of the Oracle of Delphi and the secrets of fate ends on this tranquil note. The sun has climbed higher, and the day is peaceful. In the gentle silence, one can almost hear the echo of the oracle's words mingling with the soft sounds of nature, a reminder that patience and hope light the way through all of life's uncertainties.